What's up, B Squad? It is your boy JB, and we are here today, you guys. Why did I say it like that? We're here today, you guys, with a brand new review, brand new season of Married to Medicine, you guys. The girls are back. This is season 11, episode number 1. The episode is titled, Guess Who's Coming to Whitnik, you guys. So before we get into the review, if you guys are watching this video or any other video on the channel and you guys aren't subscribed yet, then I need you guys to do me a solid favor and stop taking me out on this date and then having me pay for it at the end of it. You guys know the routine. You can do me that favor by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, turning on your post notifications, and sharing the video, you guys. And with that out of the way, without further ado, let us go ahead and discuss Married to Medicine, shall we? All right, you guys. So tell me what you guys thought about the premiere of Married to Medicine. I enjoyed it. Y'all know on Married to Medicine, there are some people who are not my favorite, but nonetheless, we're going to talk about our show and, enjoy the girls, right? So, excuse me, y'all. There's something in my throat. I don't know what it is. So, this episode, we see Cecil and Simone. So, Cecil and Simone were getting ready to celebrate 35 years of graduating. Excuse me, y'all. 35 years of graduating from college, right? So they are going to be having their own version of Freaknik, right? It's going to be called Whitnik. And it's so, it's, I think mostly because you guys remember last year that Freaknik documentary came out. And then I know a lot of people, if you watch the documentary, there was actually a picture of Cecil in the documentary, and everybody caught it and was like, Cecil, is that you? And he said, yes, it was him. So Cecil and Simone, and we actually saw a picture. I don't know if we saw it in the documentary, but I do know that they also posted a picture of Simone at Freaknik as well. So you guys know Freaknik, how it originally started as just a party for college kids who couldn't afford to go home for spring break, and they just did Freaknik, right? I'm still confused how they came up with the name Freaknik. I mean, okay, whatever, right? But then we know what Freaknik turned into. So that is that. Now, Cecil is asking Simone, so, did you invite everybody to the party? She was like, everybody that I talked to. And so Cecil's whole thing is, well, who all do you talk to? And she's like, you know who all I talk to. I was like, does he really? And I honestly do believe Cecil know exactly who Simone talks to. Dr. Jackie, Dr. Heavenly, Toya. Now, Letitia, I don't necessarily know so much so about, but for the sake of saying, we can say she talks to everybody in the group with the exception of Miss Quad, right? And you guys know, I've said it numerous times on my channel. Miss Quad is just not my favorite. I know the people love Miss Quad, but Miss Quad ain't always been for me. But so that's really what he's asking. Who all is coming? Have you invited Quad? Is Quad coming, right? And Simone hasn't talked to Quad since New York. We all know what New York means. She ain't talked to Quad since the reunion last season. And I was like, okay, but y'all made up at the reunion. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, right? But Simone feels that the communication with Quad has fallen off after the reunion. And Simone feels that Quad So you guys remember, we saw the reunion, and I think everybody had the same consensus about the reunion. And more so specifically when it came to Quad and what Simone said on the reunion stage. Simone, you were wrong as two left shoes with what you said. We can be real about that. You were absolutely 100% wrong. You should have never, when Quad said, Simone, don't go there, like, Simone, don't go there, talking about the niece that tragically passed away in, Quad's pool. When she said, Simone, don't go there, Simone, you should have stopped. Here's the thing with Simone. I know you were trying to make a point that you do reach out to Quad. You could have said it so many different ways. You could have just said, there was something very tragic that happened to Quad's life. I don't want to speak on it, but I definitely did reach out to Quad during that time. You could have said something to that effect, and it still would have got the point across. But when she told you to stop, Simone, you should have stopped, but you didn't. So then we see as Dr. Heavenly went to go see Quad. Here's my thing when it comes to Dr. Heavenly, because Dr. Heavenly does this she does this every season. And the fact that nobody ever calls, I mean, they do call her on it, but then what Dr. Heavenly does what she did in this episode. Dr. Heavenly is always either on that damn YouTube channel or on social media talking shit about let's on her YouTube channel, in her interviews, on Twitter, talking about the girls, right? Quad, Letitia. She talks about the girls on social media, on her YouTube channel, wherever, right? But then when they call her out on it, she's all apologetic. But then you get her the next season or whenever back to talk. She's like, the thing with Dr. Heavenly is she talks shit about them. She apologizes to them and she repeats it again, right? Because Dr. Heavenly talks shit about Quad in season number 9, apologized to Quad, got in season 10, talked shit about Quad, got to the episodes airing, felt bad because people were ripping her ass apart on social media, then come to the reunion and apologizes to Quad. Now we only one episode into this season, so she ain't said nothing about Quad yet, but we see her as she's apologizing to Quad, right? So Quad says that since it's the reunion, they wanted her to apologize so much at the reunion, which yes, they did. Do I still understand why they wanted Quad to apologize so much? I honestly don't, you guys. I really don't get why those women wanted Quad to apologize so much. Because here's the thing that I will say, and I know that the women said that they reached out to Quad, and Quad wouldn't reach out to them. And I do believe the ladies when they say this, right? Because I remember that season when Quad was the last season, that Sister Circle was still airing, that party that Quad had that season, where she thanked the Sister Circle girls, but she threw these girls nothing, paid them dust, right? And I think when Sister Circle got canceled, that's when Quad kind of had to, come crawling back and try to, mend the fences with these girls. Because I think, honestly, for me, when Quad was on Sister Circle, I think she was smelling herself, as my grandmother used to say, you're smelling yourself, right? So Quad said that she hasn't heard much from any of them with the exception of Heavenly. I was like, okay. If I was Quad, and you guys know I don't see it for Quad like that, I would never rock with Phaedra. There would be nothing me and Phaedra could ever say to each other. The way that Phaedra did Quad last season was janky as hell to me personally. You guys can agree or disagree. But the way that Phaedra did that girl last season, when she was quote unquote the one who introduced you to the group. Now I know behind the scenes, I know Bravo brought you to Married to Medicine because the budget was over there as opposed to Real Housewives of Atlanta, which is what they say. I don't buy that. I think the reason why they couldn't bring, we all know the reason why Phaedra didn't go back to Real Housewives of Atlanta. Candy. But hey, it is what it is, right? Now, like I was just saying a few minutes ago, Quad ain't my favorite person, but I agree with Quad. Simone owes her an apology, 1,000%. Because when that girl literally said, Simone, stop, like don't talk about it, and you still persisted to talk about it and insisted on discussing that, you were wrong, Simone. You owe her an apology. Now, Dr. G and Letitia. Let me say this loudly, let me say this clearly to Letitia and Dr. G. Now, like I said last season, if you guys didn't watch my reviews or if you guys didn't see me on social media, on Twitter, I didn't understand it last season, and I still kind of don't understand it currently. I don't understand why people have so much animosity and disdain for Letitia. I felt like a lot of people dislike Letitia because of the fact that she was marrying Dr. G, and Dr. G was once married to Quad. Like, I felt like that's what it was, but I didn't get it to an extent. I was like, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me why some of y'all have, some of y'all had a true hatred for that girl last season. And I was just like, she ain't done nothing to nobody. So what's the real tea? Like, what's the real tea, sis? Because it ain't making sense to me. But neither here nor there, right? How many, you know what, we don't have to, no, we ain't. I was about to say we could do a drinking game every time I say neither here nor there. Back to the review. Letitia and Dr. Gregory. I don't care. I don't want to know. I don't need to envision you two having the sexuals. Please keep it to yourselves. We don't want to know about it. So we see as Dr. G and Letitia are going over to Phaedra's house, right? So interesting with Phaedra. That woman is so delusional. So you guys know that Phaedra is basically saying that bringing her to Meriton Medicine made the ratings go up, right? From season 9 to season 10, which I don't believe that that's true. Because one, Phaedra, you brought nothing to last season but lies, the same lies that you always bring. Like, I'm curious to see what you're going to bring to Real Housewives of Atlanta. Not necessarily, but I just thought that would be nice to say, because I'm not really curious to see what she's going to bring to Real Housewives of Atlanta, because I really honestly don't want her back on Real Housewives of Atlanta. But unfortunately, she's coming back to Real Housewives of Atlanta, and I don't know why she's coming back to Real Housewives of Atlanta, but she is. Okay, so Phaedra and her boys are going to be teaching Letitia how to swim, because Letitia doesn't know how to swim. Now, what I was looking at that, I was like, you know what, that reminds me. I do need to take a swimming class. Now, I do know how to swim. I just haven't swam in so long, so it's like, it's like a bike. You gotta train those muscles again. Because I ain't been on the bike and I ain't been on the bike in years, and I damn sure ain't swam in a long ass time. But neither here nor there. Again, we gonna take a tally of how many times I say that stuff. So Phaedra and Dr. G, they did talk about the stuff with Dr. Heavenly and Letitia. Now, I'm gonna be fair when it comes to both Dr. Heavenly and Letitia. Dr. Heavenly and Letitia both said a lot of things on the show about each other last season, on interviews about each other last season, and on Twitter about each other last season, and they both went low. They both will go low. Letitia talked about Dr. Heavenly's mama, who is deceased. Now, Dr. Heavenly, I do like Heavenly, but Heavenly girl, you were 100% wrong. Keep it between you and Letitia, but you didn't keep it between you and Letitia because you said Letitia ain't got nothing to lose, but Dr. G does, and then you went and attacked the man's practice. That's why I was like, okay, Dr. Heavenly, you out of line. When you attacked that man's practice, I was like, that ain't cool, Dr. Heavenly. But, did she apologize? Did she ever apologize? I think she did. But I would have sued the shit out of Heavenly because you're attacking my medical reputation. And again, in the same realm, in the same breath, the same way I could say that Dr. Heavenly shouldn't have attacked his practice, Letitia said some disparaging things about Heavenly. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, it was all Dr. Heavenly. Like I said earlier, before anybody tried to come at me, it was a collective with both of those two. They both said and did shit to each other last season. But it is what it is, right? Now, we move on and we get to Dr. Heavenly's home. So Dr. Heavenly and Buddy, so they are inviting over Simone and Cecil, and they're going to do hibachi, right? So they sit down, have the hibachi, and so Cecil asks Dr. Heavenly and Dr. Damon about Letitia. Like I said a few minutes ago, Dr. Heavenly is like, when it comes to, when it came down to Letitia, when you talk about my husband, I'm coming for yours. And here's the thing, I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with you coming for her husband, right? But coming her husband with facts. She said that Damon cheated. The reason that she's saying Damon cheated is because of what Mariah said. And but the thing is, like I said, Heavenly came back and went against the man's practice. I'm not in a business about tearing anybody's businesses down, and I don't like that. And that was a problem that I had last season with Heavily. It was the fact that and granted, I ain't a fan of Dr. I'm not a big fan of Dr. G because his voice annoys me. Him and that Mini Cooper annoy me. Everything about Dr. G, unfortunately, annoys me, right? But I didn't like the fact that we were attacking the man's practice. I really didn't, unless there are unless you have facts and evidence to back up the claims that you're making. Let's not say that stuff, right? Because you would be pissed if somebody said something about your career as a dentist, or even Dr. Daddy, Dr. Damon Daddy, as Carrie called him, right? So, it is what it is. So after that, Dr. Heavenly says to Simone, well, you owe Quan an apology. And she absolutely does. She absolutely does owe her an apology. And Simone says she agrees that she owes her an apology. But we're going to talk about that in a few minutes because Simone, you had ample opportunity in this episode to give her an apology, but you didn't. And we'll come back to it once we get to it. But you had all the opportunity to say to Quad, girl, I apologize to you. That was wrong what I did to you in New York, and it shouldn't have came out of my mouth. When you told me to stop, I should have stopped. But you didn't say that. Instead, you talking about she was an uninvited guest when she really wasn't an uninvited guest, because we see in the throwback scene that Cecil sat down with Quad and invited Quad to Whitnik. I was like, Cecil, do you know your wife? I was like, oh my sweet Jesus stars. That means we finna hear Simone and that loud ass screeching and screaming she does. My God. I don't know how Andy sits next, especially at the reunions. I don't know how Andy sits next to Dr. Simone and all that fucking screaming she does. Because my God, today, it would drive me crazy. So, moving on. So we do get to the Freaknik party, or Whitnik. Dr. Heavenly. Dr. Heavenly. Girl, what Freaknik? Well, you went to Freaknik. But girl, why you look like Halle Berry's character Niecy from Baps. I was like, this ain't Baps, because you literally look like Niecy from Baps. Phaedra, what Freaknik were you going to? Like, are you going to the one that they keep and trying to bring back? Because I know that they're trying to revamp Freaknik. Child, let it go. That's like people here in Texas. Like, there was a party. So in Texas, in Texas and down in Houston, we had our own little thing too, like similar to Freaknik, and it got shut down too because it was just as wild as Freaknik, right? Because there was a whole, oh my God, I'm about to give away some. So it was called the Kappa, right? And the Kappa, there was one year that they literally recorded people doing the bang bang boogie, right? And they made a whole VHS tape out of it. Don't ask me how I know. Well, you can ask me how I know because my cousin had it, and okay. So a little bit of tea, because I have a cousin that's just a few years older than me, right? So I used to go over to my grandmother's house my mom would be at work. I would stay with my grandmother, right? And so we would take my VCR and my TV with me over to my grandmother's house, so that way my grandmother could have her TV in her living room to watch whatever she wanted to watch. And in the second bedroom in my grandmother's house, I would watch whatever I wanted to watch, right? And I get home from school one day, and I just, because I had a tape in there, and I was watching Power Rangers, right? So I was watching Power Rangers when I left the day before, because what it was I used to stay with her on the weekend because if my mom worked the weekend, I would stay with my grandmother Saturday and Sunday, and then I would leave my VCR because I know that when I get out of school, I'm going back to my grandmother's house for maybe that night, and then I would, unhook. It was a whole thing. Like, I did this all the time. And there would be some times where I would go to my grandmother's house and I would just leave my VCR at home. If I was staying for the weekend or, a few days in a week, we'd have my VCR, but neither here nor there. Again, how many times have I said that? So I go to my VCR, hit play, not knowing what's in my VCR, and Triple X stuff is all over them. I'm like, huh? I hit stop. I'm like, what the hell is this? And I ejected. I was like, I don't know what that is. And I just took the tape out and just put it somewhere else because I was like, this is not mine. This ain't going home with me. Because if my mama would have known, I never told her. Because what happened is, it actually did happen. It did happen to me once before where one of his tapes was still in my VCR and I should have checked before I went home. And got home, turned it on, and there it was. And my mom was like, what is that? I was like, it ain't mine. Well, obviously it ain't mine because I'm a kid. I'm 12 and 13 years old, so obviously it ain't mine. I ain't buy this shit. So she took it and she's like, I'm giving it back to your cousin. I was like, please do. It ain't mine. I ain't asked for it. Because there were quite a few times where that would happen, where I would get home and my TV would be loud and all you just hear is that. I was like, oh my God, girl. And I told him, I'm like, you do realize I got to this shit home with me, right? But yeah, that's it. That was a small story for you guys. So Dr. Contessa is back. Why was she so loud in that interview? What's up with that wig in that interview? She came with Letitia and Dr. Gregory. And I was shocked to see that Dr. Heavenly went up to Dr. Contessa and gave her a hug. So then Quiet arrived late as hell. And Simone was like, she arrives late and she's an uninvited guest. And Cecil was like, well, she really ain't an uninvited guest because I'm the one that invited her. I was like, So Dr. Scott, who in the hell? Well, I know Cecil and Simone actually to get on that stage. They shouldn't have. They should not have asked you to get on that stage because, sir, you don't hang up your stethoscope anytime soon. Please don't hang up your stethoscope anytime soon. I'm begging you. I'm asking you. Don't do it. 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 Because we ain't here for a girlfriend. We ain't here for it. But okay, girl. Whatever. Whatever. And that's it, you guys. So Simone, you never apologized to Heavenly. I mean, not Heavenly, but to Quad. And then when Toya was like, do you want to pull her aside and say, let's go have dinner or something? She's like, I really don't. I was like, you know what, Simone, I ain't got time for you. So here's and also we'll talk about Dr. G and Letitia. So Letitia, Dr. G, and Dr. Damon were having a conversation with each other, right? Letitia, you complaining about Dr. Heavenly, but like I just said earlier, you've talked shit about Dr. Heavenly as well. So what are you talking about, girl? Like, it don't make no sense to me. Like, you ain't making no sense to me. You're really not making sense to me, but okay, whatever. And then Dr. Heavenly said, get this bitch off of me. They both wrong. I think they both need to take accountability for things that they said. And Dr. G and Dr. Damon, I got Dr. Damon saying Gregory knows me, knows my character, knows me, and, basically should have said something at the reunion. But then Dr. Damon, your wife attacked his medical practice. And so I think there's apologies that need to go around to each person. But that's my 2 cents. You guys tell me what you guys thought about it down in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel, turn on your post notifications, you guys, and share the video. And until next time, stay safe, Take care of yourselves, guys. Wash your hands, be blessed, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.